I am Julia, 24 years old, living alone in a small apartment in a quiet suburban area. As someone who lives quite frugally, I often use Craigslist to buy and sell secondhand items. Sometimes I read the missed connections section, where people write about fleeting moments with someone they missed the chance to connect with. I see it as an interesting way to kill time, reading strange or sometimes funny stories. One evening, while scrolling through missed connections, a post caught my eye. The headline was simple yet bizarre. The girl in the red coat at the supermarket near Elm Street. The post described a brown-haired girl with a ponytail, buying fruits and canned goods, exactly like what I had done that day. I felt a slight chill, but quickly brushed it off. It was probably just a coincidence, and I wasn't the only one with such appearance or habits. A few days later, I needed to buy some more items, so I went back to the familiar supermarket. The atmosphere in the supermarket was as usual, busy but not too crowded. I pushed the shopping cart through the aisles, picking out groceries, but throughout that time, I had the feeling that someone was watching me. When I turned around, I caught the gaze of a man standing a few meters away from me. He was thin, wearing a black hoodie with a pale face, deep-set eyes, and tightly pressed lips. He stood motionless, staring at me intently, as if he wanted to engrave my image into his mind. I pretended not to notice and quickly moved to another area, but every time I looked up, I saw him appearing nearby, always maintaining just enough distance to avoid being too obvious. A sense of fear began to creep in, and I decided to finish my shopping, pushing the cart faster and heading to the checkout. Once I reached the parking lot, the biting cold of the evening made me shiver slightly. As I was putting the bags in the trunk, I saw him again, standing near the exit of the parking lot, his eyes still fixed on me. I hurried into the car, locked the doors, and drove home. In my mind, I tried to reassure myself that he was probably just a strange person, and there was no need to overthink it. That night, as I sat on the bed, I opened Craigslist again, out of habit. This time, a new post appeared in the missed connections section. The headline made my blood run cold. The girl who left the supermarket tonight, driving the silver car. I nearly dropped my phone as I read the content of the post. He described exactly what I was wearing, how I looked around anxiously, and even wrote, "I want to be with you. Just give me a chance." I couldn't believe my eyes. My whole body trembled, not knowing what to do. I thought about calling the police, but with just this evidence, it wouldn't be convincing enough. I decided to reply to the post, asking him to stop and warning that I would call the police if he continued. But deep down, I was worried that doing this might only make things worse. A few days later, everything calmed down. I didn't receive any further responses to my post. I began to think that maybe he had given up, but that peace was only temporary. One night, while watching TV in the living room, my phone vibrated with a new email notification. I opened it and almost dropped my phone. Attached to the email was a photo taken from outside the window, a picture of me sitting on the sofa. My heart was pounding, and cold sweat poured over me. I rushed to check all the windows and the front door, making sure they were locked. But before I could do anything else, a loud noise echoed from the living room window. The glass shattered, and a hand reached through, forcefully pulling the door open. I screamed in fear, ran to the bedroom, locked the door tightly, and called 911 in a panic. Police sirens echoed not long after. I heard the sound of footsteps running, and then everything became silent. When the police broke down the door, they announced that the intruder had escaped. I sat huddled on the bed, my whole body trembling, tears streaming down my face. The police found a sharp knife and several pieces of paper with scrawled writing left near the window. They were lines expressing his obsession with me. I couldn't stay in that house for another minute. The next day, I packed my things and moved in temporarily with a close friend in another city. But even after leaving that place, the feeling of being watched still haunted me. I always felt like someone was watching me from the shadows. Every time I heard footsteps behind me or saw a car slow down near me, I would jump and turn around, my heart racing. I deleted the Craigslist app and promised myself I would never open it again. This story is not only a warning about the hidden dangers online, but also a haunting that will forever be etched in my mind. I'm not sure I will ever feel safe again, no matter where I am. I'm Trisha, 27 years old. Last winter, when it was extremely cold and crazy snowy, I went through a really scary and haunting experience. I was in Michigan, and my boyfriend Joseph was over in Minnesota. Joseph got hurt during football practice, so we had to cancel our Christmas date. I missed Joseph like crazy and was worried about him, so I decided to drive over and surprise him. I came up with what I thought was the perfect plan: drive overnight, just in case there was heavy snow and traffic the next morning. It started snowing when I left home, and even though I was pretty confident in my driving, I still felt a bit nervous as it got darker and the roads got harder to drive on. The snow was coming down hard and the road was icy, making the car slide around a bit, but I figured I could handle it. About 3 hours into the drive, my stomach started growling and I was feeling tired and sleepy. I decided to pull over at a late-night diner to grab some food and recharge. The place was pretty small, with dim yellow lights on the old tables and chairs, and there were only a few people inside. The waitress was a young girl with her hair tied up and a smile on her face all the time. She looked at me, probably knew I was a stranger, and asked how I was when I sat down by the window, watching the snowstorm blow by. When she found out I was visiting my boyfriend, she told me I should find a motel for the night. It was going to snow pretty heavily in a few hours, and the roads were going to be tough to drive on. The girl was friendly and seemed to know the weather pretty well. I didn't plan on staying long, but as I looked out the window, I started to feel how bad the snowstorm was getting. Out of nowhere, a deep voice came from behind me. A tall guy walked over. He introduced himself as Robert and mentioned a few cheap motels he knew about along the way. I thanked him, but felt even more awkward when he overheard my chat with the waitress. But after a second of thinking it over, I decided to take the guy's advice. The motel he showed me seemed fine, at least it was close, and I didn't want to keep driving in this awful weather. The motel was pretty old, with moldy walls and furniture that looked like it hadn't been updated in forever. But for just $50 a night, I couldn't really complain. The snow was coming down heavier and heavier, so I had no choice. I locked the door and lay down on my phone, but then I realized I forgot to ask for the Wi-Fi password, so I threw on my coat and went back out. I kind of glanced at the parking lot and saw a black car struggling before finally parking right behind mine. I didn't think much of it, quickly asked for the Wi-Fi password, and headed back to my room. I locked the door again, took out my phone, and got comfy. That coffee I just had really cleared my head, so I'll probably end up staying up all night. All of a sudden, I heard a light rustling sound in the snow outside the window. It went on for what felt like minutes, step by step. I turned off my phone again, listened, and after a bit, the footsteps stopped. I rushed to the window and pulled back the curtains. Outside, I could clearly see footprints in the fresh snow, stretching from the parking lot all the way to near my window. A chill ran down my spine, and I quickly rushed out of the room and headed to the front desk. My eyes went wide as I looked around, but only saw the motel manager. My heart was pounding, and I could feel fear and tension building up around me little by little. I ran out of the room, feeling like something invisible was pushing me. Each step I took echoed in the silent hallway. I rushed to the front desk, hoping to find the manager so I could tell him about the footprints in the snow. But when I got there, the sight in front of me made me freeze. Right then, the black car I'd seen earlier started up and drove off. The sleek black car, with its headlights shining right at me, made me blink a few times because the light was so bright. I instantly recognized the guy in the car as Robert, the one I met at the restaurant earlier. The way he looked at me at the restaurant was weird, and now I get why. He knew exactly why I was here, and I had no clue what he was up to. I freaked out and told the motel manager the whole story, and he set me up with a new room. Even though I got moved to a new room, I still couldn't shake the fear. The room felt safer, at least physically, but in my head, everything was a mess. Even though the motel manager tried to calm me down, I couldn't shake the creepy feeling that was just hanging over me. I called Joseph, and as soon as I heard his voice, I just broke down in tears. The next morning, when the traffic looked better, my boyfriend booked a ride to take me to his place, and they said my car would be delivered the next day. I spent Christmas and New Year's with Joseph. Once he recovered from his injuries, we headed back to Michigan together. After that scary experience, I've never driven alone at night, and I stay away from motels.